You are 16 years old and you have not seen sunlight in 4 days. Not because you're sick, not because you're grounded, because you forgot it existed. Your bedroom is a cave of blue light and empty energy drink cans, and the only clock that matters is the one in the bottom right corner of your 3 monitors. Your mom knocked on the door twice today. You said, "yeah," both times without processing a single word she said. Your hoodie has been on your body for so long it has basically become skin. There is a half-eaten bowl of cereal on your desk from Tuesday. Today is Friday. You don't care. Most kids your age are worried about who said what to who at lunch, or whether their sneakers are fresh enough, or what their follower count is doing. You are not most kids. You are the kid who at age 12 took apart the family router to see what was inside, put it back together in 40 minutes, and made it run 30% faster in the process. You are the kid who learned Python from YouTube videos at age 13 because school was moving at the speed of a broken elevator and you needed something that could actually keep up with your brain. You didn't have friends exactly. You had a Discord server and a forum handle and a reputation in certain corners of the internet that people twice your age would have respected if they knew how old you actually were. Right now, you are staring at a CTF challenge, a capture the flag competition, that a hacking community you lurk in posted 3 days ago. Nobody has solved it yet. That fact is simultaneously the most annoying and most motivating thing you have encountered all week. The puzzle involves a deliberately broken web server with a vulnerability buried so deep you have to understand 6 different concepts simultaneously just to see the door, let alone walk through it. You have been eating, sleeping, and breathing this problem for 72 hours. Your notes cover 4 pages and 2 whiteboards and 3 text files and a napkin you found in your jacket pocket. You are close. You can feel it the way you feel a word sitting at the tip of your tongue. At 2:47 a.m. on a Friday night, while every other teenager in your zip code is asleep or doing something far more socially normal, you find the crack. It is a misconfigured authentication bypass buried inside a session token validation loop that the challenge designer clearly thought was invisible. It is not invisible to you. Your fingers move before your brain fully catches up, typing a payload that slots into the vulnerability like a key into a lock you've been walking past for 3 days. The terminal window blinks, then it opens. Root access, you are in. You stare at the screen for a moment, then you do something completely out of character. You lean back in your chair and you scream. Not out of fear, not out of anger, pure, distilled, incandescent joy. The kind of joy that comes from solving a problem that almost broke you. Your mom bangs on the wall from the next room. You do not care even slightly. You post the write-up in the forum at 3 a.m. and go to sleep with a smile on your face. The write-up gets noticed. Not by a few people, by a lot of people. The hacking community you've been lurking in for 2 years suddenly knows your handle. Senior members, people who have been doing this since before you were born, are leaving comments on your post saying things like "clean approach" and "didn't see the session token angle, nice." Someone DMs you directly. His handle is 0_day_profit. He has been active in this community for 6 years. He says he has a private channel and asks if you want in. You say yes without thinking twice. The private channel is a different world entirely. The public forums are like a classroom. This is the faculty lounge. These are people who don't just understand vulnerabilities. They hunt them for sport, document them obsessively, and sometimes you start to notice they cross lines that the public forum pretends don't exist. Nobody says anything explicit at first. It's all hypotheticals and theoretical discussions, and imagine if someone were to framings. But the direction of the conversation is always the same direction, toward real systems, toward real targets, toward doing things that would not exactly make the front page of a cybersecurity ethics textbook. You tell yourself you're just here to learn. You tell yourself watching is different from doing. You are 16 years old, and you are the smartest person in most rooms, and you are absolutely terrible at predicting where roads like this one end up. 0_day_profit starts sending you private challenges, not CTF puzzles. Real infrastructure. A company's staging server left exposed to the internet. A poorly configured cloud storage bucket with interesting files inside. A login portal with a SQL injection vulnerability so obvious it should be a crime to have missed it. He frames each one as a game, a test. He says he's evaluating your skills. He never once says the word illegal. He doesn't have to. You compromise your first real system at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. It is a small retail company's customer database. You are looking for the technical challenge, that exact same high you got from the CTF. But this time, when you get root access, the screen doesn't feel triumphant. It feels different, colder. The database has 40,000 customer records in it. Real names, real email addresses, real partial credit card numbers. These aren't test files in a sandbox. These are people. You close the terminal immediately. You don't take anything. You don't do anything. You sit in your blue-lit cave for a long time, staring at the keyboard. You don't tell 0_day_profit you got cold feet. You tell him the target was patched before you could get in. He believes you or he pretends to. Either way, he sends another one. Over the next 6 months, you develop a split identity so cleanly divided you almost stop noticing the seam. During the day, you are a mediocre student who barely shows up socially, forgettable to most of your teachers, the kid who sits in the back and finishes the work in 10 minutes and then stares out the window for the rest of class. But online, in the channel, you are someone else entirely. You are the youngest and fastest and most creative person in a group of serious operators. You learn things that don't exist in any curriculum. You learn how networks actually work at a level that most network administrators thus never bother to understand. You learn how trust hierarchies in corporate systems are almost always weaker than they look from the outside. You learn that the gap between secure and secure enough that nobody looked closely is enormous, and almost everyone is living in the second category while pretending they're in the first. 0_day_profit introduces you to someone new. The handle is Silk Thread. Silk Thread doesn't play games. Silk Thread doesn't run tests. Silk Thread has clients, real ones. Companies that pay to have their own systems attacked before someone else does. This is penetration testing, he explains. This is the legitimate industry. This is how the same skills become a career instead of a criminal record. He says you're wasted, in the gray zone, and it's time to go white hat. He sends you a contract. It's actually a contract, an NDA and a scope of work and a rate of pay that makes your eyes go slightly unfocused when you read the number. For a 16-year-old who has never had a job and whose only income has been birthday money, the figure looks like it was generated by a calculator that made a mistake. You sign it. Your mom thinks you're doing freelance web design. Technically, you are not correcting this impression. The first legitimate pen test is for a mid-sized financial services firm. They want to know if their employee portal can be compromised. You are given a start date, a defined scope, and explicit written permission to try anything within the boundary. You spend 2 weeks on it. You get in on day 4 through a phishing simulation that their security team completely failed to catch, and then spend 10 more days mapping every weakness you can find so your report is comprehensive. When you hand over the 40-page report documenting 17 distinct vulnerabilities, the security director at the firm, a man with 20 years of experience, reads it in silence, and then looks up and asks how old you are. You tell him. He doesn't say anything for a moment. Then he says, "How much are you charging?" This is the moment you realize that talent, when it's real and rare enough, makes age completely irrelevant. You are 18 when you find the thing that changes everything. Not a vulnerability in a corporate system, not a CTF challenge. A pattern. You are doing routine reconnaissance on a dark web forum. The kind of reconnaissance that is firmly within the scope of a security research contract you have when you start noticing something. The same encrypted communication signatures, the same timing patterns, the same behavioral fingerprints appearing across what looks like multiple separate threat actor accounts. Accounts that various intelligence community write-ups have attributed to at least 3 different hacking groups operating out of at least 2 different countries. Except they aren't 3 different groups. You're almost certain of it. The signatures are too consistent. The tooling has too many shared artifacts. These accounts, despite their carefully constructed separate identities, are communicating. They might even be coordinating. The implication of that, if you're right, is something that makes the 40-page vulnerability report for the financial services firm look like a homework assignment. You spend 3 weeks building the case. You are not sleeping properly. You are eating worse than the Tuesday cereal period of your life. Your notes fill an entire encrypted drive. You run the analysis 6 different ways, and every time it comes back pointing at the same thing. At the end of 3 weeks, you have something that looks less like a security research report and more like an intelligence briefing. Here is the problem. You are 18 years old. You have no official affiliation. You are not working for a government agency. You are not employed by a cybersecurity firm large enough to have the kind of relationships where you can walk into a federal building and say, "I found something." You have a handle, a laptop, an encrypted drive full of evidence, and absolutely no idea what to do with it. 0_day_profit would know what to do with it, which is exactly why you don't tell him. You spend a week on this decision. You think about what Silk Thread would say. You think about the clients you've worked with. You think about what you actually want your life to look like, and then you do something that surprises even you. You file a tip, an anonymous, carefully structured, technically dense tip to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, complete with all your documentation, all your analysis, and a methodology section that you write and rewrite 7 times to make sure it is impossible to dismiss as the work of a kid who got lucky on a CTF. You don't hear anything for 6 weeks. Then you get an email. It is from a federal agency. It is not the FBI. It asks if you would be willing to meet. You walk into that meeting wearing the cleanest clothes you own, which are still pretty casual, carrying a laptop and an external drive, and the specific energy of someone who is trying very hard to appear older than they are and not entirely succeeding. There are 3 people in the room. 2 of them look like the kind of people who have looked at a lot of threat actor profiles. One of them looks like a lawyer. They ask you questions for 2 hours. Technical questions, detailed questions, questions designed to verify that you actually understand the analysis you submitted and didn't just paste it together from someone else's work. You answer every single one. At the end of 2 hours, the senior analyst leans back in her chair and says, "Your attribution methodology is better than what we had internally. We were tracking these groups separately." You nod. You are trying not to visibly vibrate with the effort of staying calm. She says, "We'd like to bring you in on a consulting basis." You think about the Discord server and the forum handle and the private channel and 0_day_profit and the cold feeling you got staring at 40,000 customer records that belonged to real people. You think about the trajectory that road was going in and the trajectory this road is going in. They are not the same road. You say yes. 3 months later, 0_day_profit gets arrested. The charges are extensive. The operation that brought him down involved evidence gathered from multiple sources. You don't know specifically what role your tip played. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. You're not entirely sure you believe yourself, but you sit with it, and you do not run from it. And after a while, you make peace with the fact that sometimes the right choice and the comfortable choice are different choices, and being smart enough to know the difference is the whole point. You are 19. You have a consulting contract with a federal agency. You have a growing list of private sector clients who find out about you the same way they find out about any specialist. Through reputation and through whisper networks of people who have seen the work, you still work from a bedroom. It still has 3 monitors. The energy drink cans have been replaced by coffee. The hoodie is the same hoodie. Your mom still knocks on the door sometimes, and you still say "yeah" sometimes without fully processing it. But now, when you lean back in your chair at 3 a.m., with that particular feeling of having cracked something that resisted you, the screen in front of you belongs to a system you have explicit written permission to be inside of. The work matters. The skills are real. And somewhere out there, the road you didn't take is doing what roads like that always do, ending in a very small room with no monitors and no coffee and absolutely nowhere to go. You chose the other road. You chose it at 18, which, when you think about it, is both extremely young and just barely in time. The terminal blinks. Root access, you're in. You start your report.